So rather, avoid it. So he gave me a word to use, which is a greeting that says, I am sorry for being a burden on you. And it changed everything.
So in that video, we just heard the guy saying that the Japanese guy that he spoke with is not necessarily like prejudiced or has a problem with people coming into their place of business. They're just jittery or unsure of how to interact with people they're unfamiliar with, and that ends up coming off as xenophobia. That's why a lot of the time, they'll turn foreigners away. And honestly, I think there is a lot of prejudice and racism in places like Japan. I mean, that's everywhere. Let's not pretend that it doesn't exist. But at the same time, he's not wrong about how much they value being respectful and trying to appear perfect, especially in a public setting and when it comes to relations with foreigners. What doesn't get talked about enough, though, is the flip side of things. So as we know, as we've seen with Vitaly and people like Johnny Somali, there's been an uptick in tourism in a lot of Asian countries, particularly in terms of harassment. And this harassment is coming from people from other countries, like the West, or from Russia.
Damn, you're at 3-2, boy. What is that? 3,293. Huh? Woo. 3,000 what? 3,293 because you're still on front page. Wow. That's crazy.
This is disgusting. Isn't this guy like 50-something years old? What are you doing? Can you then understand why these countries don't like foreigners? Because people like Vitaly, or whatever the frick his name is, do this for attention. Maybe they were big back in the day, and they figure now that they're irrelevant, they're just going to go to those countries where they know nothing's going to happen to them, or they think nothing's going to happen to them, and harass the people there. And it's funny how they usually choose the Asian countries to do this with. And so when that Japanese man was mentioning the thing about foreigners being turned away, I think a great portion of that has to do with the behavior that's being shown by the people that are coming into these countries guised as tourists. And we're gonna go through this video because this freaking woman, oh my god, I don't know if she's just playing devil's advocate, trying to argue for the sake of arguing in case someone would have that argument, so she's functioning as the avatar for that, but it's still very disgusting on her part.
Until I met the mayor of my town, Hoyashi, in Japan, and I told my mayor, why when I'm going to Japanese restaurants, they tell me away. When I go to the ryokan, they tell me away, and he said, no, they're not racist. We become jittery when we don't know how to interact. It's called xenophobia. You don't want to look stupid. In Japanese, they want to be perfect all the time. Okay. If I'm going to serve this man and I make a mistake, my face is down. So rather, avoid it.
It's actually understandable why some Japanese people might not want to serve foreigners, especially, you know, it's not just about them looking perfect, like, or not knowing how to interact. I think that's only a small part of it, but because they've been targeted by foreigners, especially in recent years.
Nagasaki, you know why you do this? Pearl Harbor? Hiroshima, Nagasaki! Yes, man, nigga, yes, Hiroshima.
So I'm not talking about the harmless culture shock or innocent mistakes, you know. It's about people deliberately coming into their space, their home, acting disrespectfully, they're mocking the customs, they're filming locals without their permission, and they're behaving in ways that obviously are trying to evoke a reaction out of people, harassing them, harassing the minors and the women in the country. So when you've got that kind of behavior happening more and more, it makes sense that some locals will start distancing themselves or even turning foreigners away altogether. It's a defense mechanism. You can't really blame these people. It's not always about hate. You're trying to preserve peace in a society that values harmony and etiquette and structure. And that might be alien to a lot of people, but what functions in the West doesn't function well in other countries. And I can't even really say that because as we've seen as of recent years, look at all the criminal activity that's just running absolutely dog-toothed rampant in a lot of the cities and areas that a lot of people in foreign countries believe are the center stone of American culture. Then they take that entitled behavior and carry it with them to these other countries, forgetting that not everybody shares their supposed culture or lack thereof.
He gave me a word to use, which is a greeting that says, I am sorry for being a burden on you. And it changed everything.
So once you said that?
Yes. She knows that.
But I wouldn't want to walk around thinking that I'm a burden.
Well, then, Jesus Christ, this woman's so freaking annoying. What Mr. Frank is doing in this video, this is very important actually. And you think that this is something that most people should know, you know, it's just common sense. But I guess common sense, as people say, isn't so common nowadays. So he's trying to educate people. Not just just about Japanese culture, but how to be more self-aware when you're stepping into any culture that is different from your own. He's trying to bridge that gap by showing you what to expect and how to carry yourself, which is something your parents should have taught you. Like, you do not go to other people's house and just do whatever you want. You shouldn't. In my household, it is very important and seen as bad manners if you do not take off your shoes at the door. Like, it's just bad manners. If you do not take off your hat coming into an establishment, or you're wearing your sunglasses in the establishment, or if we go to someone else's house and a family that we haven't seen for a long while, you come with empty hands. It's a saying in my country, in our language. You do not go to someone's house with just your empty hands. Always have something to carry. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be food, could be a gift. It doesn't matter what it is. Just bring your long, empty hands. That is something important to our culture. So if people were to come there, even if in your country you don't do that, if you're visiting another country, it's important for you to read up on the cultural customs so that you don't insult people. Just as people from other countries, if they were to come here and let's say they decide, you know what, I'm going to take your dog and eat it, like sprinkle it and make a meal. It's important for them to know that, yeah, we don't do that with our dogs here. Our dogs and cats are members of our family. So yeah, you doing that is a huge insult and can make some people manic, and it would be completely warranted. You see, certain things are not acceptable. And it's on the person who is visiting the country that they're going to read up on those customs and make sure they don't make a freaking fool out of themselves or get themselves chopped up.
She knows that.
But I wouldn't want to walk around thinking that I'm a burden.
Well, then stay in your country. Don't.
I swear to God, it looks like she's actually serious about what she's saying. But bro, you're a guest. The burden is on you to adapt, not the other way around. Doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. It just means you should at least try to understand where people are coming from instead of assuming the entire world should cater to you and expecting that. There's a very entitled mindset. And it's funny, people like her will have the American mindset where like something, women or people are being oppressed because of women and the color of my skin, but then you'll go to another country and then colonize them with your behavior.
Go anywhere.
Well, I want to visit.
There is something called multicultural communication, multicultural understanding, multicultural. We teach it. It's very expensive. You think it's there for nothing? It's there to prepare you to know where you're going and how to make the larger community feel comfortable. Not for them to make you feel comfortable. You buy that comfort.
So because you don't know how to serve me, I need to dumb down.
I know this bitch isn't serious. Okay. I don't even want to know who she is because she's honestly not that important. But this is the kind of thing that we're talking about. This kind of behavior. Who are you to go into someone else's country and expect that they should know how to serve you? And by you showing an ounce of politeness, you liken it onto dumbing down. That is such an insult to the people of that country because you're basically insinuating that they're stupid because they should just know how to cater to you. Offer it. I don't care if this is for entertainment, but it's so weird to me how people will come on to these shows or podcasts or clips. I don't know how old this clip is, but you will put your face up there, your big old corpulent face, and you will put your face up there and say things like this and think it's not going to affect your reputation. Why would you do that? You have family members, you have children, I'm guessing. I don't know. You might have a husband or a wife or what have you. You have people who know you, people who are connected to you, and you are going to do them dirty like this by putting your face up there and say things like this ignorant, this level of titanic ignorance, and embarrass the people that you are attached to. Because when people see you and they know that you're with those other people, your family members and whatnot, they're going to go to your family members and look down on them and say, that's what you hang out with, that's what you put forth, that's the thing that you raised, that's the thing that's raising you, you must be a person of very poor character. That's human psychology. People will judge the people that you hang out with, and she's doing a huge disservice to her family because it's mega embarrassing. I really hope that she was saying, that there's somewhere in this clip, because I'm trying to find the bigger one, but I hope that she said something in the beginning or in the end that's along the lines of, okay, I'm just going to be playing the role of someone who's entitled, but I don't actually feel this way. Because Lord help her if she actually feels this way.
No. It's not a dumbing down. That's a very American. And
I'm basically saying I'm so sorry that you cannot serve me.
You have come to
But can you serve me?
No, you've come to disturb a functioning status quo. Mm-hmm. If you are a man of conscience, you know that I am different. I cannot expect the majority to disorganize themselves to accommodate me.
It's not about dumbing down. It's like he has to dumb down what he's saying. What he's saying is when you're entering in someone else's country with their own customs, their structure, social rules, you're the one that stands out. You're the unfamiliar element. So yeah, the burden is on you to adjust a little bit and to be more aware and to help others feel comfortable. That's just basic respect, whether you're going to another country or someone else's house. And honestly, it's not really that much different than how we handle animals, like horses, for example. Whenever I've had to take care of animals like horses, I've had to take care of horses. It's a very different world than when you're taking care of dogs or reptiles. You learn quickly after studying equines that you don't behave around them the same way you treat a dog, especially with horses that you're not familiar with. A dog might take quick movements or certain types of movements as playful, but a horse, especially one that's skittish, horses are naturally skittish because they're prey animals, they could get spooked, feel threatened, or kick. Then there are general rules that most animals take to, specifically even carnivores, when you go behind them or in front of them. Some of that even translates over into humans because nobody likes when someone is standing directly behind them in their blind spot. But where other animals might run away, horses might do the same, or they may opt to kick you, but it's on you to recognize the certain tells on an animal or a species you're going to interact with, so you know what they're trying to tell you when they're warning you, so you know how to read their language, whether or not they're happy or sad or scared. And the reason a lot of people get kicked by horses or bitten by them is because they're not reading the warning signs that horses are clearly giving them. Then they have the nerve to put down the animal or say the animal's aggressive or horrible when it was on you to read the very obvious red flag warning signs that the animal was giving you and being very patient with you in giving. The same way you're supposed to understand that you shouldn't just walk up to a wild animal and start petting it because there are certain rules that you need to follow. The same way you should understand how to deal with people. After all, people are animals, and where you have animals that have different culture, people also have different culture as well. So if you get your ass bitten, that's your fault, not the animals. So yeah, you walking into another country and you start doing things your way and you're like, oh, you should serve me because I'm American. That's pretty much entitlement. And Mr. Frank here is just trying to help people stop being tone deaf. He's saying a very basic principle, which most people should know. Have some freaking respect, not just exterior respect, but respect for yourself as well, enough to not look like an idiot.
You, if you are a man of conscience, you know that I am different. I cannot expect the majority to disorganize themselves to accommodate me. I have to find that accommodation, make them feel that I come with knowledge about you.
But don't they know I'm traveling to their country? Don't they know that there are visitors? There's people coming.
Yeah, there are foreign hotels. We call them foreign hotels. Go there, you go in.
So stay at the Marriott?
That's correct. That's why we have the ryokan. Ryokan is traditional Japanese hotels.
Okay.
You take off your shoes and your clothes at the door, standing naked, and a woman will give you what is called yukata, and you wear it. And then you wear sneakers. The whole bamboo floor is polished. You can eat from it. You all, men and women, have to take a shower, sit, and I wash your bag. Western people are not comfortable doing that. So don't come here.
Real talk though, this guy sounds like he's Japanese, but he's completely right. If you have your etiquette and you don't feel comfortable because you have to conform to the majority, stay at home. Plant your flat pancake ass at home. Don't go somewhere else if it makes you feel uncomfortable. You'd rather the majority of people feel uncomfortable to suit your preferences, then you're being selfish.
Just eat the noodles?
I mean the flavor.
What's up?
If you don't like it, just get out. Right?
Was I talking to you?
Right? Yeah.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Am I talking to you?
I'm talking to you. Yeah, it's more quiet. It's too loud.
Everyone else is on the same level. If there was somebody sitting, can you sit next to me and you and I could talk to each other? How about you sit here and we talk to each other? Yeah, you can sit here. Let's talk to each other here, not across the restaurant. You can sit right here.
Then you'll have situations like this where the clip that I just showed you, this person is streaming on his phone. He's not sitting with someone else. He's sitting by himself and he's streaming on his phone. Now, ordinarily, in the US or anywhere else, nobody would have an issue with that. At most, they just look at you and be like, well, maybe he's having a date with someone on his phone. A very odd way to do it, but it is what it is. Then this person squeezes in and says, I lived in Japan for 6 years. Not a very long time, but anyway. In restaurants, and this is the entitled mindset I'm talking about. In restaurants, I hear people way louder than you. Way louder, not even close. Even in the train, the people sitting next to each other talk out loud, but on the phone they decrease their level to 25%. But talking on the phone is also considered rude. You're not even talking anywhere close to being loud. At most, you're 75% to normal conversation level. And then we have people like this freaking idiot, where a lot of Japanese have already apologized for that. Majority of Japanese people have apologized for that. But anyway, another person says, pretty irritating when people try to force their will on you and tell you what you can and cannot do. They think they're doing the right thing by getting into your business and telling you what to do. He's eating soup and talking onto his phone. It's no big deal. Maybe not to you. This other person says, yeah, a grandpa at a restaurant basically yelled at my wife and kids and her parents and family while I was in the toilet to be quiet. They were there with their family about the same size. They were loud and so were other families. But they only spoke to that family that have half kids. Always seems to happen too. And the original poster says, I hate people that act like that no matter what the country. You do happen to find them more in Japan and Korea though. Old geezers in other countries are more chill. Depends on where you are. So here's the thing, right? The person who was saying that they lived in Japan for 6 years, you're completely missing the point. It's not just about the volume. It's about the context, the behavior, and the social unspoken rules around public space in Japan. You have to remember, if it's not your culture and you're not one of the people there, you're a visitor in their home. I know this might sound weird to you. What may sound weird to you and unacceptable to you, it has no bearing on how you're supposed to be to act there, because it's not your world. You're coming into their world where you may speak loudly and stuff. Like, for example, if you go to someone's house and the host is speaking loudly and, you know, it's her house, she's the one hosting you, you're a guest. And then you start speaking really loudly too. She kicks her shoes off or she's talking bad about her mom. That's one of the most at-home examples I can give you guys. Let's say she's talking shit about her mom, right? She's like, yeah, my mom's such a bitch and blah, blah, blah. And then the guest at her house is like, yeah, your mom's a total bitch. And she looks at you, she's like, who the fuck? Like, no. You cannot talk about my mom like that. I can talk about my mom like that. Where she can put her feet up on her couch or whatever, you put your feet up on her couch. It sounds very hypocritical, but at the end of the day, it is her house and it's her rules. You're a guest in her house. What she can get away with doing, you can't get away with doing. You should be able to get away with doing it, right? But you haven't really earned that right because it isn't your house. So in the case of this guy, it might not necessarily be about you being louder than someone else or them being louder than you. It's probably about how you're being loud, why, and in what context. If you're talking loudly to a friend face to face at the table or another human being face to face at the table, that might be tolerated, especially in a noisy setting. But if you're on your phone shouting, live streaming, or doing something that feels invasive to the environment around you, that's a different kind of disruption in certain cultures, especially, you know, with the uptick of what's been happening over the past few years. When you're on the phone or live streaming, you're not really sharing the space, you're turning it into a stage, and Japanese culture tends to frown on that, especially when it feels performative or self-centered. Now let's add to the fact that the guy supposedly was complaining about the noodles in public, which is what people in the comment section were saying. That is very, very monumental in Japan. Even if the food wasn't great, culturally, criticizing it out loud is seen as extremely disrespectful. You're not just insulting the dish, you're potentially shaming the chef, the restaurant staff, the establishment, the whole reputation that comes with that, especially with people sitting there. It's seen as extremely disrespectful. And in Japan, where saving face is everything, that's a big deal for them. It's not like in the West where you can get away with being like a picky Yelp reviewer or whatever. Over there, being overtly negative in public, especially in someone else's space of business, is considered extremely poor behavior. So yeah, people are gonna call that out. Now, maybe the Japanese guy didn't know exactly how to say, hey, you're ruining the vibe and you're being disrespectful. So maybe that was his way of trying to confront the guy, but he didn't use the right words. I think it was more about the vibe and the intention and the disrespect. From his perspective, the guy that confronted the streamer was being loud as fuck. And he was doing it in a kind of like self-serving, like he was treating the restaurant like, oh, it's a backdrop for my stream to get views, and possibly embarrassing the staff by trashing the food out loud. And with streamers harassing the Japanese, of course, they're going to be like, well, this guy is doing it for views or he has bad intentions. And what the streamer should have done, especially if it's not your country and not your culture, is say, you know what, internally, he's probably thinking that's not fair. They're being a little bit hypocritical, but you know, whatever. Their culture is completely different from mine. I'm sorry. I don't want to sit here and make this a bad experience for everyone. Even though that guy spoke up and made it a bad experience for me, let me be the bigger person. And because this is his local area, he's a local, he can, because the thing is, people in those countries, if something happens with you, they're going to side with the other people of that country more often than not, which is, you should look out for your fellow countrymen, unless it's something overtly bad. But yeah, he should have been like, you know what? I apologize. But for the stream and for his people, so he doesn't get embarrassed, he's letting all his audience know he's a badass. And it is what it is, because from his point of view, wherever he comes from, he's probably thinking, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. That guy needs to mind his own business. Not the same in different cultures. But situations like this are exactly what Mr. Frank over here is talking about.
Out of curiosity, some of we foreigners want to go there. It has caused problem already. A woman won't behave this way if there hasn't been a precedent to that.
So there you have it. He's basically teaching people, hey, here's how you be respectful. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. But if you were a guest in someone's culture, house, or country, there's a certain expectation from you, whether you think it's fair or not, to act in a gentlemanly or lady-like manner. Otherwise, don't go there. The same people who will bend over backwards and scream, Japan's so racist, look how they treat us, are the ones that are breaking their backs to go live over there. Why are you going over there knowing everything you know about the culture? You can criticize, there's nothing wrong with that, but then why are you fighting tooth and nail to go somewhere that you don't like? That doesn't make any sense. If I'm gonna go to a country where women are expected to shave their heads and walk around with no clothes, and I'm expected to go and experience that culture in its full face force, I'm not gonna go there, because I don't wanna shave my hair and I don't wanna walk around buck naked. I'm just not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there and be like, how dare you people, how dare you? No, what, am I crazy? No, I will stay my ass at home. Or on the flip side, imagine going to one of these tribes. I love watching these videos of these tribes because I feel like these people are living carefree and happy the way our ancestors did, and they can do things that most of us can't do. But imagine going there and these people are friendly towards you, and then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna pet this person's head, or I'm gonna wash my feet in this bowl over here. They're telling, no, you can't do that, because before you do that, you've got to bow down 6 times and wipe the ground with your nose so you can chill with us. And you're like, nah, where I come from, we don't do that. You guys all need to get with American culture and do what I do. Imagine how entitled that is. And when people see that happening in movies, they will be so quick to say, supremacist! You think the whole world has to bend down to your ideals? But then you're going to other countries and acting the same way that you're accusing Americans of treating you in your own country, in America. Please make that make sense. You don't have to agree with cultural norms of other countries. As I said, you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like that people in Japan expect silence on the train, or at certain places in the Middle East have gender segregated spaces, or that in some countries it's considered offensive to show the soles of your feet, what have you, whatever it is. That's fine. You don't have to adopt every custom or think it's morally correct. But if you were going to that country and you're a guest in that country, you still need to respect that. Same way you wouldn't walk into someone's home and kick your shoes up on the table and say, well, I do this at home, so it's fine. What people also don't understand is that it's not just a matter of respect, though. And this should be, especially if you're a woman in these countries, it's also an issue of safety. Like, why would you go out there and try to make yourself a target? There are some countries where breaking social rules isn't just seen as rude. That guy in that video I showed before, where that guy was confronting him, that's probably the worst thing that you'll face in that specific setting. But there are other countries or cultures where it can be taken as an act of hostility. It can get you harassed, you can get detained, or people can physically target you and attack you. Because in a lot of these countries, guess what? And it's something that America used to do as well. I'm sure if you watch those like Western films, people were more, let's just say they had more of a civic duty. Civilians, they would see a behavior that is not becoming of the people of that area, and they would take it upon themselves, and it would be completely legal. They would take it upon themselves to fix that. And it's not really because the people are necessarily bad morally, but it's because you've crossed a line that they see as serious, Even if you didn't know that, you're not going to win a fight by shouting, well, I'm an American and I have rights. In that moment, you're in a system that doesn't operate by your rules or the rules of another country. And check out the clip from Jay Aubrey here, where they showcase a very similar situation.
But this wasn't Johnny's first time getting humbled. You gotta be pretty mad to wrangle your buddies together and track down a person's exact location for the sake of lecturing him on stream. But that's exactly what this group of Japanese streamers did to Johnny last summer. These dudes went all the way to the house Johnny was staying at to see if they could get him to apologize. Their only mistake was not realizing who they were dealing with. Johnny Somali doesn't think he did anything wrong, so what is there to apologize for?
Just say you're sorry to the Japanese people and you take this seriously. Say you're sorry.
I don't have no problem with Japan.
Okay. Yeah, but say you're sorry.
Sorry for what incident? The train?
Sorry for all the incidents.
Apart from sheepishly blaming his behavior on Ice Poseidon and having autism.
Ice Poseidon made me do it. You need to blame him. I have autism. You know autism? You know mental illness? I have mental illness.
Johnny also insists he's a comedian and that these guys just can't handle his jokes.
But they don't, in America, we don't make...
It doesn't matter about America.
We don't make comedians about
it. Doesn't make... You're not a comedian.
No,
you're not.
Sorry, but if you have to tell someone you're a comedian to avoid getting punched in the face, you probably aren't a very good one.
So yeah, and this goes for people who are coming into America or people who are going to other countries, from other countries or from America. Understand the culture, dude. Like, even in a relatively safe space, safe place like Japan, and it's safe in certain regards and not for others, right? Pushing against social expectations, you're going to have consequences. You might not get arrested there and then, but you'll definitely be ostracized. People can refuse service, they can call you out, they can accost you. And there are some cases where the tension of you standing out like that can escalate very fast, right? And as a foreigner, I always tell people, don't be stupid, because you can easily disappear in these countries. And because you're not a member of that country, you're not a civilian or you're not a citizen, you can just disappear. And people back at your country are like, well, I wonder what happened to that person. He went to this other country, and because he's not really in the system, so to speak, he just went kaput. Don't know what happened to him. He probably went to that forest where people off themselves. You know, you never know. We don't know what happened to him. What were you talking about? An American was here? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, like, it just doesn't make any sense why you would put yourself in that line of danger to stand out and harass the majority of people around you who are citizens of that country that can make you freaking disappear. It just does not make any sense. Why would you play with fire like that? Bottom line of all of this is people need to have some respect. They need to have some self-respect, and they need to learn how to respect others. I think it's very hard teaching people this, or it's very sad that you even have to teach people this, because they come from a society or a family structure or the lack thereof where basic respect is not ingrained in them. And a lot of you, I know you come from good backgrounds who watch my channel, you watch other channels and stuff, and you'll look at the stuff and readily point out that there's something wrong here. And that's good. And that just means that you have a good upbringing. People shouldn't have to tell you how to respect other people. If you end up suffering from the fallout of your bad behavior when you go to these other countries, don't be surprised if it doesn't just affect you, it affects other people from your country or even your family members. Mr. Frank's trying to keep people safe out there as well. Not just the people of these other countries, but the foreigners visiting them.